How's everyone doing? How are my sweet, sweet bachas? How are you, students? Do tell me in the comment box because I think the problem with not being live is that I don't get to interact with you guys enough and I have no idea of what's happening with you. And a very warm welcome to the third session of the French Revolution. So, as I was saying, that the problem with not being live is that I miss on so many things that you guys keep on telling me constantly through the sessions. So do tell me if the first and the second sessions have helped you or not, and how did you like this session by the end of it in the comment box so that ma'am gets to know how have her children felt about it. Okay. So guys, let's get started without delaying any more. And as I said, a very warm welcome to the third session of the French Revolution. We have already completed a lot of it in the previous two sessions. And I'm Ankana, your social science master teacher at Vedantu. And without doing any more delay, is going to get started. Okay, so the homework answer, the question to the homework, the answer to the question that was given in homework is A, 1791, and people who have answered the fastest are Sachin, Anbu and Bhakti. Congrats you guys, I'm so proud of you. And the other people who have also answered but are missing their names here, guys, make sure that you're putting your answers in the comment box, not just in the live chat, and also that you're liking and subscribing the channel so that you do not miss the opportunity of answering it the fastest, and then I would love to see your name here on the leaderboard. So let's move on, bacha. So if you remember, in the previous session, we had spoken about all the ups and downs that were going in the France or in the country of France, and how the revolution started, what led to the outbreak of the revolution, how Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were actually executed after that, and they were basically sentenced to death for treason. Right? So with all of this, monarchy got over, it broke down, but monarch also went along with it. So in this scenario, obviously something new was going to come. So that's what we're going to read about today. So today we're going to discuss the Reign of Terror, a directory rules France, rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. He's going to be a very interesting character. Did women have a revolution? If you remember when we were discussing about Jacobin Club, I told you that we will talk about women more in detail a little ahead. So today we are going to discuss that in quite detailed form, and then of course conditions of women, and then we're going to have our homework question. So the Reign of Terror. Now, who terrorized France after all of this revolution after the killing of the monarch? Was someone still left who was still creating that terror? Someone certainly was, and it was not surprisingly any new person, guys. This is someone we have already read about. Can you quickly guess who could it be? If not, let me tell you, it was actually Maximilien Robespierre. We discussed about this person. Do you remember who this person was? Can you quickly tell me again in the comment box, who do you remember Maximilien Robespierre was? We've discussed about this in the previous session. If you don't remember, do go back and watch the session if you've not seen it already. Meanwhile, let me quickly come back to the Reign of Terror. The time where people were terrorized, afraid, so scared. It was from 1793 right till 1794, not even that long a period. So you can imagine how brutal this person might have been, that he was just let go in 1 year itself. Now let's understand what was the problem. So, as I told you, the monarch was over and so was the monarchy. So, a new rule came up. It was of the Jacobin government. Now, they had come in the scenario and they were taking care of everything. They had the reins in their hand. They had all the strings and control in their hand. And if you remember, when we were discussing about clubs, we also said that if the club is there, there has to be a leader, and that would be Maximilien Robespierre. Right? So he was the new leader, which means obviously if the Jacobin government is there, who has taken up the power, who has taken up the control, the leader would be the supreme head. And that made Maximilien Robespierre the head. Okay. He became the new ruler of the new France. Okay. Of this new France, Republic France, you could say. But there was a weird problem. Okay, this guy was a little strange, a little off than the others. He believed in severe control and punishment. He had zero tolerance about anything which would, according to him, go wrong. He was not at all a little bit also considerate. He was like, if you have done this, you're going to be punished, no matter who that person is, friends, family, acquaintances, people from the court or citizens, everyone. Like, he's the true example of equality before law. Okay, but not in a good way. He would not give any consideration or any pardon to anybody because he was very, very radical and extremist by nature, which kind of made it a very difficult situation for everyone to kind of deal with him, to tolerate him. It was becoming so slightly unbearable, and not just for the citizens, even for the people of his own club, of his own party. They were also having a very, very hard time with him. Why? Because he used to believe in the policy, as I told you, of severe control and punishment. He would tolerate zero nuisance in his presence. Anything that would go against him would immediately be put on trial. Okay, you spoke against me, or if you did something wrong, no listening, you're directly going to be put on trial. So imagine if a person is putting anyone on trial, what would happen to that person if that person is proven guilty? After the trial, if the person, whoever was on trial, irrespective of how this person, Robespierre, knew him, would be given a death sentence. Now you can imagine how brutal or how direct it was, how extreme the conduct of the government or laws at that time was, right? So they would be tried and imprisonment, and if you were found guilty, you would immediately be executed. And this execution also used to happen in a different way. It's not like you would be hanged to death, or you would be killed in a different manner. No, the execution would happen in a unique manner. Okay, so it used to happen with the help of this machine, guillotine. Okay, guillotine, with the help of guillotine, people used to be executed. Now what was guillotine, bacha? So guillotine was basically a machine which had like two poles on both sides, and a blade was there where a person would be kept and would be beheaded. So scary, right? It hurts my heart to even think about it, but yeah, that's how people were being killed at that time. And that's what is there. Like, if you would find anyone guilty, without a second thought, that person would immediately be guillotined. Okay, and where did this machine get its name from? It got its name from Dr. Guillotin, who was actually the inventor of this machine. Okay, so now this was not the only problem. Now with this new ruler, there were multiple issues that were happening, and that's why the society could not take off him more than 1 year. And what were these reasons? What were these reasons? So as I told you, he was an extremist. He wanted everything to be kind of in extreme. Loyalty, absolute and extreme, in absolute extreme form. Equality in absolute extreme form. Now let's explore this a little more. What do we mean by equality in absolute extreme form? So he believed that everyone has to be equalized. Everything has to be equalized. And in order to do that, he was taking all these strange and weird decisions. For example, putting up a flat limitation on the wages and the prices, which means that whoever, no matter what kind of work they are doing, would receive the same wage. No matter what are you buying, you would have to pay the same amount of money, which means, and no matter which area. So normally what happens, guys, whenever we are trying to sell something, it depends a lot on the areas. For example, if this is an area where we have let's say coconut in abundance, okay, so coconut prices will be low, obviously, because there are a lot of coconuts. But if I'm transporting it to, say, northern part where the coconuts are comparatively lesser available, then naturally I would charge more over there, right? Because my transportation charge and everything is extra over there. But what this guy had done was, he had put a ceiling, like, okay, this is the maximum range, iske upar, above this nobody's gonna go. Okay, if you're charging coconut for coconut, if you're charging 20 bucks here, you're going to charge 20 rupees in Delhi also. He would exclude everything else. So a capping was put, a ceiling on the wages, and the prices were done. If a person who is working, like two people who are working on daily wages, if person A is working lesser than, let's say, person B, but still there was a caps put over there. Okay, person B, despite of working more hard, wouldn't get as much of advantage as person A. Now that was not just that, he applied this on all the food items. Okay, meat, bread, everything was rationed, everything had been put up with a fixed price tag. And not just that, he came up with this very weird idea. So if you remember, guys, the staple food of France was actually bread. Okay, so everyone wanted bread, everyone wanted food, everyone wanted groceries. So what this guy came up with, he came up with a very weird idea. He said that everyone is going to eat the same bread. Now right now what happens? I eat brown bread. There's a possibility someone would eat milk bread, someone else would eat multigrain bread, and all these breads are of different prices depending upon my capacity, my you could say the class in the society, my requirement. I would pick up my bread and I would pay the money accordingly. But what this guy came up with, the idea was to bring something called equality bread. He introduced something called equality bread. Now, as I told you, that was the only staple food. On top of it, what he said was everyone, no matter of which class, which segment of the society, how much you earn or how much you spend, all were supposed to eat the same bread, which was equality bread. Now imagine if you're supposed to eat the same bread, and obviously the quality wouldn't have been so great, otherwise it wouldn't have been so economical for the country, for the government to give it to the poor, rich, everybody at the same price. Otherwise maybe the prices would have been high, which the poor will not be able to afford. But that was not happening. Poor were able to afford whatever he was giving, which means the bread quality was not as good. Now that seemed a little unfair. But that was not the limit of unfairness. He went further. What he did was he heard the religious sentiments of his citizens. Now that's something no ruler should do. Guys, if you know, I'm not sure if you have heard this session that I took for 10th grade. It's obviously out of your syllabus, but sometimes you may come across it. Which was, the Britishers also did the same mistake in India. They heard the religious feelings of the people over here. Now, but one thing is very clear, okay? When it comes to religion, when it comes to God, when it comes to belief, when it comes to faith, people are driven by their emotions. They don't care about your logic, about your facts. And that guy actually heard the religious faith, this great drive, this great belief in God of people. What he did was he closed all the churches as a worship, as a place of worship, and sending out your prayers. And he converted all the churches into barracks or offices, basically a workspace. That's what he had changed the entire churches into. Okay, now this extreme quality that he had of existing in the society, all his actions were also directed in the same way. Now he did not stop at that. Okay, now he came up with another idea, which was, so if you know, France has always been this very sophisticated, this very fancy place. Okay, and over there French language in itself sounds so fancy and modernized. So they've always been like that, and they've always been very sophisticated, very well behaved, very literate sort of. Okay, and so what they used to do was they used to address each other as sir, madam. All of these titles were being used to address each other. Now what this guy said was, dude, you guys are done enough with sir and madam. All you're going to do is now, all you're going to use now is citoyen and citoyenne, which means male or female citizens. These are basically terms that are used for citizens. Now think about it. If all of this is going around in your country, you're a citizen over there, would you tolerate such a ruler? A person who was supposed to get us rid of Louis the 16, get rid of all the crisis that was going on, has now come into power and is doing all of these stupid things. And the same thing happened with him. The people, his own people, started opposing him, not just the citizens. Okay, people who were standing along with him also got so frustrated by him that they had started opposing him, because he was so extreme and rigid when it came to his beliefs, when it came to his conduct as an administrator. So as a result of all of this, people were really upset with him. So the court in 1794 convicted him and arrested him, and just like what he used to do with other people, end of the story, the same thing was done to him. So it's right, karma does come back to you. So what goes around comes around. So he was putting everyone, he was executing everyone on that guillotine machine, and ultimately he was arrested and guillotined himself in 1794. Okay, ठीक है, fine. Now we know that Louis the 16 was executed. Within 1 year, this new ruler was executed. What do you think happened to France now? So now, as you know that Louis 16 is gone. Okay, Louis the 16 has been executed along with his wife. This new ruler has been executed. People are one by one just executing everyone who is coming. Now, what in this scenario would have happened to the country? What do you think would be the condition of the country? Obviously, there is no ruler, there is no government. A government that came as a supplement was also, also fell down. What would happen to a country like this? Obviously, its condition would be very unstable, very uncertain. The government, the scenario, the future wouldn't look to be very sustainable, would look very bleak, the future, right? So the same thing happened with France as well. So now in this condition, as we know that the Jacobin club the government had fallen down, and there was nobody to take care of it, and the city, the country looked like it was in a very unstable place. Okay, but then started a new rule, as I told you. So now what happened was a new class came up. A new era started for the country, you could say. A new era started for France. A new phase started because a new class was emerging, and they took the control in their hand. They took the power. They took the reign in their hand, guys. Okay. And which was this new class, bacha? It was the new middle class. If you remember in the previous session, we discussed that there were two classes. Okay. There were majorly two classes. The society was divided in two. But now a new class was emerging, which was educated also, which was financially more stable also, were of the more rich merchants and masons and all these people, right? Merchants and all these people. So these group of people, the middle class, now took the control in their hand, and they formed the government. Okay, now they did not just form the government randomly, they came up with a new constitution. Okay, now what was this new constitution? So this kind of undid what was done in the previous election. If you remember, in the previous election, everyone was allowed to vote irrespective of their property, what was their status in terms of property, whether they owned a property or not. But these guys undid that again, and it again brought to the back to square one, where the people without any property were denied to be given the voting rights. Leave alone the women. Women have been just outcasted out of the society, I feel. Okay, they were declared as passive citizens. Okay, now however this new government was forming, they decided to have two elected legislatures. Okay, they decided to have two elected legislative councils. Now why did they decide this, guys? In order to make sure that the balance of power is there. Now they had seen earlier what had happened, okay, with Louis XVI, with Robespierre, everyone, where power was centralized in one person. It would always lead to something which was not very healthy for the society. So they decided that it should be equally divided, and hence formed two councils. And this new leadership of this new group, okay, you could say, was known as the Directory. It had only 5 people who were the executive leaders of this. But there was a catch with these people. Okay, the one definitely was that now everyone was not allowed to vote, but that was just not it. Okay, though what had happened was that these guys were very dominating by nature. Okay, they wouldn't listen to anyone, they would do whatever they would want, and this started leading to disagreements between the director and the legislative councils because of being dominating, not open to other people's ideas. A lot of clashes, internal clashes started happening. Okay, which again led to political instability. The country already is not very stable. Okay, with all of this falling of the government, the kingdom, on and on, it's already not very stable. But whatever it was, again was becoming very unstable. Why? Now imagine in your house there are four of you living, and three of you keep on arguing. Would you say it's a stable house? Would you not feel like at any one point someone would get up and get out of the house and leave it permanently? The same thing was happening. The future of the France looked very, very unstable. And then at this point came a hero to rescue the France, to rescue the country, to rescue everyone from that situation. And this hero was nobody else but Napoleon Bonaparte. So बच्चा, now you might be thinking कि भाई ये Napoleon Bonaparte कौन है? Who is this Napoleon Bonaparte? Where did he come from? Okay, right? So where did Napoleon Bonaparte come from? He did not come from anywhere outside. He was always there. He was actually the military dictator. ठीक है? And then he decided that he is going to come and rescue France from all of this instability. Because what else was happening? So guys, you will actually learn about this in nationalism in Europe in details, but let me quickly, in 10th standard, let me quickly give you a quick gist, I would say, of what was it about. So what happened was that once all the government fell down, there was no government, there was nobody to take care of France. People outside, okay, the countries, the neighboring countries, which were very, very bothered by French Revolution, they were very scared of it. They now wanted to take control of the country. They wanted to rule the country and take control over it so that they could become powerful, so that they wouldn't have to face anything in future. But there was this great guy who came to rescue of France and saved it from all these people, and he was nobody else but Bonaparte, Napoleon Bonaparte, who was actually a military dictator. Now we will get to know how his reign was, how were people under him, and how he actually destroyed republic state and went back to monarchy again. People initially liked him, but eventually kind of ended up disliking him because of various things that he used to do. Okay, so we will read about that in the next class. But today let's talk about, did women have a revolution? So as I told you in the last session, guys, that we will be discussing about the role of women in society in general, right? So of course they were a part of these revolutions. In fact, they were a very, very active part of all of these events. They were more active maybe than a lot of men in the society. Why? Because obviously they were fighting for their own rights of equality, so they had to be involved. Okay, they were somewhere in hope that a revolutionary government will be formed, a non-conventional government will be formed, which will push them out of their misery, which will drag them out of their current scenario wherever they were. Okay, so as I told you, bacha, women had always been sidelined by the men. Okay, at least few men were sometimes given an opportunity to vote, even if they did not have properties. But women were never considered as the active part of the society, which is very, very sad. Okay, now let's talk about the condition of women at this point. Obviously, if they're not being considered under this active citizen thing, there must have been something that was stopping them. The very first important part was, where were these women coming from who were participating in all of this? So naturally, women who were from a lower strata, from a lower standard, did not have enough capacity or capability to come and revolt every day. So it majorly used to happen with the daughters of the nobles or the wealthier members of the third state. And why is that? So guys, these women, okay, these women of all the societies, no matter which state, were actually given no job training. They did not know what exactly to do. Neither were they given proper training, nor were they actually educated in a good manner. They would somehow get some random education if they did, otherwise they would be illiterate completely. So in this scenario, what would happen to a person who is belonging to this group? Either you will end up being very very unhappy, or you will just settle for what you have and you would start doing anything that is available to you. Yes or no? So the same thing happened with these women as well, who were not, you could say, very well equipped, who were not ready, who were not trained well enough. So as a result of this, they started doing laundries, domestic services for people. And only women who had rich background were able to take up the responsibilities, which again was creating that imbalance. But yeah, that was there. And it's not like I mean, like, and it's not like nobody was trying to resolve this, but this is how it was, and it was going to take another a number of years to sort this out. Now, if you remember, guys, we were discussing when we were talking about different clubs, when Jacobin club was being discussed, that women were also forming their own clubs this time, right? And these clubs, now what were their objectives? So their major objective was just to simply put out their interest and put out their rights for equal demand. I mean, sorry, for equality. The demands for equality, the demands for equal political rights is what they wanted. However, they were never heard. That's a different story. But in order to be very very participative, they had actually created 60 clubs, guys, 60 clubs that they were a part of. And not just that, they had also started a newspaper to make people aware of their conditions, of whatever was going on. And as I told you, they just wanted equal political rights. One of the most, I mean, like, few of the most famous clubs are the Society of Revolutionary and Republican Women. This was one of the most famous societies. Finally, so if you remember, the constitution in 1791 came, and people were very relieved that, oh my god, the new constitution has come. But what happened? The saddest part was that along with few men who did not have any party, the women were declared as passive citizens, which means they were not even considered as an active citizens. They were not even given the citizenship in its fullest form. And the same was happening with a lot of men also, but we are just focusing on women's scenarios right now. Men still were getting a lot of opportunities in the past with the Congress, Khilafat movement, non-cooperation, this, that, all of that was going on, but women were not being really participative directly. They would maybe just go and support the protest, but that wouldn't be enough, right? So finally in 1791, their right was curbed even more. It was reduced to that of just a passive citizen. Okay, now that is somewhere very heartbreaking. Okay, but that did not stop them, guys. They came up back again with full energy, with a lot of motivation to revolt against this unfairness. Now with this, we come to today's session of like at the end of today's session. Let's quickly look at your homework question. During Robespierre's rule in France, all French men and women were called as dash instead of the traditional monsieur and madame. Patre, d'Églite, citoyen and citoyenne, or citzeru. What were these citizens known as? And guys, if you think that this really helped you, don't forget to hit the like button, and of course subscribe the channel, because we'll be coming again. Don't forget to put your doubts in the comment box. If you do not subscribe the channel, you will not get a ping of when a new video is going to be premiered, and you might miss it, and I'm sure you don't want to miss it. So make sure that you're subscribing to the channel. And then I will see you in the next session, people. Till then, stay home, stay safe, take care. Bye bye, guys.